You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family. Well, hi, everybody. We're back again, and this is Glenn the Geek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning. We've been doing that show for 15 years now. And welcome to the WESA Retail Roundup. The Retail Roundup is your go-to virtual hub for all things retail. Join panel discussions, learn from webinars, share your thoughts, ask questions, and connect with your community. We host a virtual event or share educational content every Monday via the Retail Roundup Facebook group. If you don't belong to that yet, then get on over there, search for Retail Roundup on Facebook, and join that group. That's where we put all the messages, where we have all these videos and a lot of other content on there. Today, we're excited to have back with us retail expert Nicole Leinbach Hoffman, diving into key strategies for her book, Retail 101, The Guide to Managing and Marketing Your Retail Business. Designed specially for small retailers, today's session will focus on essential tools to strengthen marketing, curate a compelling product mix, and optimize in-store experiences. Nicole is the founder of RetailMinded.com and an influential voice in the retail industry, celebrated for her practical expertise in supporting independent retailers and small businesses. And recognized as one of the most inspirational women in retail, Nicole's insights are a must-hear for retailers looking to thrive in a competitive market. And we just found out that we grew up right next to each other.
I love it.
In Reading, Pennsylvania. So lovely area, actually. I grew up more in the Lancaster County side, but it is a cool area. Talk about retail. We had a lot of it there, too.
That's right.
Yeah. And a lot of small retail there.
Absolutely. I mean, undoubtedly, it's one of the big reasons I love retail.
Yeah, because we did have it there. Whether it was from an Amish stand at the end of the road to...
Say that.
By the way, I still miss the Amish stands at the end of the road. And buying a bushel of tomatoes for $2. I miss that.
Absolutely. How can you not? Talk about independent retail, right? Real small business.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're going to get started. You have a presentation for us today. So just give us a real quick, before I disappear here, what are we going to be talking about?
So we're really going to look at the path to purchase. We know that our four walls are what sort of hug our business, but we're going to talk about how do you expand beyond that path to purchase of customers. Here we are in 2025. We want to make sure we're not only getting people into the stores and keeping them there, but we're connecting with them in between and still making transactions happen.
All right, very good. I'm going to put your PowerPoint up here and I'm going to bail out and let you do your thing.
Great. Well, I am so excited to return and join you all again today. It's a real pleasure, to be honest, to be in the business of retail. And I know it's not always easy. And I can say that firsthand because you guys, like me, many of you listening, are entrepreneurs. We run our own business and we do a lot of different things to bring business to life. And that can be both exhausting, but also rewarding. And sometimes we get a little bit disenchanted by the fact that e-com and digital and all of that can seem a little bit overshadowing to our brick and mortar stores. But did you know that brick and mortar sales still outweigh online sales? You're probably asking yourself, are you sure, Nicole? Did you do your homework? But I promise you, this is all data that I'm not making up. This is data actually provided by Statista and a few other places that I collect routinely. And the beautiful thing is that when you look at brick and mortar, you realize that it can be an inspiration for purchase across many different touch points. But we have to realize the path to purchase is not straight for customers anymore. While the brick and mortar store might still be your goal for many of your customers, we need to recognize that the path to purchase simply isn't straight. It cannot be straight for stores then either. So when we think about how you individually make a purchase, or I make a purchase, or your 16-year-old daughter might make a purchase, or your 80-year-old neighbor might make a purchase, you have to think about all the variations. There could be detours, roadblocks, wrong way turns. There could be absolute collisions even, right? And when this happens, your path to purchase becomes wildly interrupted. Now, if you consider the path to purchase, whether it's for, let's say, a new pair of equestrian boots, if that's the case and you intend as an individual to buy those and suddenly there's a detour and you've been interrupted and you do not make that purchase you intended, you have to wonder as a store operator, how do you manage that? So today we're going to look at a lot of different things to help bring some clarity, transparency, and ultimately solutions to managing your business. And the real goal is you need to be where your customers are. On this path to purchase, you need to make sure that where your customer's going, you are also going. You are going as well. You need to be the adapter of change that consistently happens in our very busy world of commerce, or you risk falling behind. You risk literally being the road that has a dead end, and we don't want that to happen, right? Retail has changed, and it will change again. Historically, Glenn and I were just discussing Amish little stands on the side of roads in Pennsylvania. That is historic retail. And yes, that might still exist in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, but that's not mainstream retail. We have to really think about the evolution of not only what has happened, but also consider what's going to happen. There will be disruption. Disruption is going to be a massive impact. It already has in the business of retail. There's going to be challenges. I want to look at that a little bit more right now as we talk about this, because let's look at 2025. We're coming off of a very challenging year of 2024, and here we are at the start, and there's been challenges from not only the customer perspective and customer mindset, but business operations, tariffs, challenges, uncertainty. These are things that historically have happened as well. They just come in different ways. So between disruption, challenges, all of that, you need to still consider there's also excitement, there's also opportunities, and there are sales. Transactions are still being made. Again, here we are in 2025. They might not be at their peak all-time high, but this road, this path to purchase, this general journey of commerce will always have this disrupting moments, but it will also have opportunistic moments. So we want to make sure that you guys as business leaders are keeping up. And when you consider your business as a four-wall mindset, so to speak, because brick and mortar, whether it's really more than four walls, but let's, for sake of argument, consider it like a box. You're a four-wall business, right? You need to make sure you're looking beyond that box or beyond your walls. You get to know who your customers are by stepping outside of your own business. And that actually helps you bring them into your business, okay? You need to make sure that not only do you understand who your customers are, but you understand who your customers are not, okay? Or who they could be. You need to be where consumers are today and will be tomorrow. So today we're going to talk about 5 different things that ultimately help us better understand how to keep customers on that path to purchase to your store. And that's going to include generational habits, the general path of purchase, customer connectivity, shoppertainment, and technology that you need to know. And this is going to be so that we have a 24/7 cycle of understanding who our customers are, where they are, and how to capture their attention, but also how to capture their dollars. So let's kick it off with generational habits. The biggest advantage that having a business that focuses in commerce is that you yourself are a customer. Think about that. We as individuals make transactions all the time. And I am curious. I wish I could see all of your faces when I ask this question. But how many of you primarily support brick and mortar businesses? Or do you primarily support digital focused businesses, whether it's DoorDash or Amazon or any other website or even social media, which you can buy from and make transactions from nowadays? So ask yourself, are you more digital intended when you make a purchase, or are you more brick and mortar intended when you make a purchase? You have to really put yourself in your shoes. But the difference is you can't be in everyone else's shoes. Understanding who you are is wildly important, but not all customers are the same. In fact, we have a wide stretch of customers, particularly when you consider all the different generations out there. There are so many different habits of how consumers behave, and a lot of that does come down to who they are as their generational tendencies themselves. So I'm going to ask you, do you know who your customers really are or who they could be? You need to be proactive in order to be profitable. when it comes to supporting your customer audience, the products in your business, and ultimately capturing these people to make that transaction happen. And in doing that, you need to understand generational differences. So let's start with the alpha generation. This is our youngest buying generation. They're born after 2010. They're an influencer of spending to all the older generations, though. Okay. So if you know someone in your life born after 2010, you know that they can, quite frankly, cost a lot, spend a lot, but it's not typically their own money that they're spending, right? They're growing and they're depending on others to make those transactions. So now that means you have multiple generations influencing purchase. And this generation has grown up in a fully digital world. So as you think about the future of this generation, how are you going to support them when they start to make their own transactions? In fact, 57% of Generation Alpha will make most purchase decisions influenced by social media. Okay. So that was from a study from 2024 from BDS Connected Solutions. 57% of Generation Alpha is going to make most purchase decisions influenced by social media. I'm actually surprised that's not higher, to be honest. Okay. So that is an incredible amount. So then I would ask you, are you on social media? Are you using it enough? When you're targeting this generation, it's clearly somewhere you need to be. Generation Z, this is born between 1995 and 2010. So most prominent spending currently within our society. They're actually larger than the millennial generation, which when millennials came about, they got a lot of buzz in the media, in retail, in the press, and they make up 1/3 of the entire US population, which is quite considerable. But there's a lot about this Generation Z, that we don't really cater to yet. And so as retail operators, we really need to think about this. Statista.com from a 2024 study said that 63% of Gen Xers consider product and store reviews online before making a purchase. So that means they're turning to places like Yelp or Google reviews or even Facebook reviews or other reviews or even Amazon, which offers those 5-star options to consider other people's testimonies before they make a purchase. So I'd ask you, is a review strategy in your business currently to help people as they're experiencing that sort of thought process of where they want to shop, decide to come to your store? Next, we have millennials. They're born between 1980 and 1995. 2 and 4 are now parents, and they care very much about the social impact of where they spend their hard-earned dollars. So millennials are, a great group of consumers to understand. And what's interesting about them is that multisafepay.com 2024 study said that 68% said that they will leave or abandon a store if that store does not offer their preferred payment option to make a transaction. So whether it's online or in store, if they do not accept the millennials' choice of payment, they will choose to go somewhere else to spend their dollars. So this is interesting because there's a lot of different ways that you can spend money, and we'll look at that later today. But it's certainly not all credit cards and cash only, as I'm sure we could all understand. And then, of course, our baby boomers, a fabulous generation born from 1946 to 1964. They actually outspend our younger generations 2-to-1 online, and they actually have a lot of disposable income. Now, remember earlier when I was talking about our Generation Alpha, a lot of times our baby boomers are buying for other generations. So when we think about, again, these generational spending habits, we need to also consider how they actually are using their dollars in transactions. And what's interesting is that they actually spend more money online than in physical stores. Like it or not, folks, that is the truth. I'm not making that up. That's data that comes from the World Economic Forum from 2024. So if you are a baby boomer yourself, I'd be curious, is this you, right? Is this someone you know? Is it because there's a convenience to buying online? What is your rhyme and reason? So getting into the mindset of customers can help you also get into the mindset of why people do or don't come to your business. And so I'll ask you again, do you know who your customers really are or could be? What influences your customers? Why do they shop at one place versus another? Will they or won't they remain loyal to your business, and why? Certainly you guys have this amazing category of business that at its heart does involve around equestrian, horses, right? So there's so much there, but there's still some variety within that. So while they might be influenced by, of course, equestrian lifestyle or riding, it might be competition. There's so many different things. You need to start to understand really what's provoking their purchases too. So are they shopping because they want to, or are they shopping because they need to? You need to know who your customers truly are and where they are spending their money. If they're not spending it with you, it's actually really important to understand where else they could be spending it. If you've seen a shift, even, is it because they are shifting online? I'm not saying that's right, not saying it's wrong, but we need to have some clarity to our consumer spending habits. And with that, that leads us to the next point I want to talk about today, and that is our path to purchase. So, our path to purchase is always the goal as brick and mortar operators to bring people through their actual foot traffic into your physical store. But in order to do that, we often know that they're going to explore online places before they even get to your store. They're going to look at various touch points that are going to be considerations of where they ultimately spend. So, why does that matter? We need to make sure that 24/7 you have visibility to your customers. It might be 10 p.m. at night, like it often is in my own world, where I think to myself, oh, I need to get this done this week. And I start to brainstorm on who might have something, what are my options, where do I want to go? Is it worth making the drive? Do I want to have it delivered? These are real considerations. And so, as business operators, we can't pretend they don't exist. So 24/7, you need to be available for your audience. Plus, convenience is key. If you create your own roadblock to your customers, that's going to be, quite frankly, the detour that could lead them somewhere else. And so when I'm talking about this 24/7 connectivity, you want to make sure that while the brick and mortar location is still our number one goal, you do have visibility in other places. Their path to purchase is their choice. How they're influenced, where they get inspired from, where they learn from, why they stay connected to stores versus they don't, where they choose to spend their dollars, why they choose to opt out of email lists for that matter. There's so many different reasons that a customer has the control over. And as businesses, we can only do so much to make sure that they stay with us. So when we talk about what influences them specifically, let's look at their peers. Who are they hanging out with? Is it their own family member saying, oh, just order it online, it'll get here quicker? Or is it someone they really respect and they say the same person is saying, oh, you need to go to this store. They offer an amazing assortment of this, or their customer service is outstanding. If you're giving them a stellar experience, that person is a peer to someone that can help give them raving reviews of your business. So your peers are massive advocates of your store. But on the contrary, they can also flip that story around and say things that don't always work to your benefit. So make sure that you understand that your best line of defense when it comes to connecting with your customers is actually showing your customers just how amazing your business is, because that word of mouth marketing is still very, very, very important. You also want to consider rewards. So when we talk about how customers shop, why they shop, what the influence of their shopping decisions might be, rewards are wildly important. So when you consider rewards, think about your local grocery or your local sandwich shop. Often they offer, if you spend so much, you get X amount of dollars off on a future purchase. This can mimic a lot of different categories of retail, but what are you doing from a reward category? This is actually something that is incredibly dismissed too often, and yet wildly influential when it comes to consumer spending. So challenge yourself to heighten a reward program in your business that gives customer that loyalty to want to stay with you because of the incentives and the rewards they are offering them. It could even be VIP experiences, first to shop for certain new arrivals. Of course, you can reward them in dollars, but that's not always how you reward them. It doesn't have to be just dollars. It can certainly be experiences or other incentives. And a lot of times that's what the customer really values as well. And of course, budget. When we think about influencing factors, budget is incredibly important to think about. The budget is right or wrong how it is. I mean, we are all individuals as well. And so we understand that, we have to make tough decisions sometimes based on budget. So when you think about your business budget and your customer's budget alike, what are you doing? you know, Going back to what we talked about earlier and how 2024 was, let's face it, not the most ideal year when it comes to retail or just economic impact at all. And here we are in 2025 and things are changing. And, no matter where you sit in that equation, if you think it's a good or a bad decision, it is happening. So we have to be proactive in order to be profitable. And considering not only your store's budget, but your consumer's budget is important. So I would challenge you to look at your inventory assortment and maybe even describe, what are the musts in your store? Those are the staples versus the statements. Do you need maybe a little less statement this year because people are spending more on staples only? These are evaluations you need to consider as a store operator so that you can react to how your customers are spending and the current trend of spending in general. And I think one of the ways you can also do that is actually ask your customers. You could do it in conversations in your store. You could do it through your email blasts. You could go onto your social media, do a live video, talk to your customers through that video, and then share a poll via social media. A lot of these resources are very, very, very low investment, so you're not putting much into it. If you have an email blast going out, it might be part of your general, monthly or yearly total allowance of e-blasts, but these are minimal investments for you to get feedback from your customers. And I would certainly encourage you to do that. The next thing here are clubs. So when I say clubs, I'm talking about like writing clubs and various groups in general within your community that are influencing your customers. Okay. So when you think about any niche market, there's always going to be, niche groups. How are these groups influencing where those members or participants shop? Are you engaged in these groups? Are you talking to them? Potentially you're advertising, potentially you're an official store of choice for them. There's a lot of ways you can partner within these environments, but ultimately you do want to be a part of them because they're going to influence a lot of the people who are in fact your target customer. So again, on that path to purchase, you have to ask yourself, are you at all the touch points that your customers are? Whether it's their peers influencing them or the groups that they might be a part of or their own budget when they're making a decision. And instead of them saying, well, that store is too expensive or they don't offer enough variety and prices, that's something that often comes up. They might think you only have one level of product price point versus a variety of product price point. There are going to be wrong way turns, detours, bumps, even cautionary signs in general on your customer's path to purchase. Now, this might include going through your social media and another ad pops up or a peer interjecting and saying at a local club they belong to that says, you know what, I just bought a great something or another at this location. So you want to make sure that you're part of that journey. Analyze everywhere that your store exists, okay? So when I say this, I want you to really think about what that means. Identify communication and marketing to connect at each and every touch point. And we're going to go through this touch point here as we move along in this conversation today, leading us to our next point, which is customer connectivity. Now, customer connectivity is what equals sales at the end of the day. I mean, plain and simple, if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And so we want to make sure that we recognize the end goal is, in fact, transactions. You have your in-store transactions, online, you have anything from the internet, web, social media. You, of course, could even do email marketing, phone call orders. There's so many different things. But I have a question for y'all. When you think about connectivity to customers, how many of you use your phone, okay, to connect to the businesses in which you like to do business with, okay? Now think about that. The word phone historically meant making a telephone call, but now phone means so much more than that. It's going to Google Maps and saying, where's a local riding center, or Google Maps and saying, where can I find an equestrian store or a feed store, right? So if you also go to your phone, you're probably Opening up social media, right? There's another touch point of customer connectivity. These are all things that happen on our phone, and our phone has to be considered one of the most primary hotspots of customer connectivity. Okay. The phone is incredibly important. I tell my teenage kids to put it down when we're at dinner and to stay away from it. Don't be on it so much. And I also tell myself the same, to be honest, because it's hard not to be. There's so much intel at your phone, whether it's humor or insight or advice or scheduling or emails or shopping, right? There's a lot that we can do on our phone. And we want to make sure as business operators, we are everywhere that our customers are in that digital connectivity. So let's first talk about our peer review sites. Our peer review sites are going to be the places like Yelp and other places that allow for you to go and gain reviews of what other real customers think. This is incredibly important, guys. Your Facebook, even your testimonials on social media. I encourage people even to grab those testimonials, put them into graphics. Maybe don't use the last name. Maybe just use like Nicole H. period, right? And use actual testimonials to push into your social feed, your email marketing, in-store signage. Having real life testimonials of real customers is so important. This is how customers like to behave. They like to believe that, other people have shared their firsthand experience. They're not being paid to, so to speak. So they're going to trust that person more than they might even trust you or somebody supporting your store. So peer review sites. Your homework when you are done listening to me today is to go to all the different peer review sites out there and see how you're represented. Make sure you have accuracy of your store hours. Make sure you have updated details on your digital touch points like your website. Make sure you have information that highlights, what you're selling from a general category perspective. If there's any other special details, your peer review sites should be able to highlight all of these details. Very, very important that you keep up with this. The next is your Google, Yahoo, essentially your search engines, okay? Your search engines ultimately take you to peer review sites and your website and other places. But did you know that they also act as like the yellow pages? So you need to make sure that your Google profile, your Yahoo profile, even your yellow page profile, because that does still exist online, are all accurate with your information. Again, that path to purchase, which is leading people to your physical store, they don't know how to get there. Or maybe this is, I'm talking about a new customer in this case, but they wouldn't even know you exist if they go on that path of discovery and don't find out that you even exist. Now, for existing customers, they might go here to see if you have alternatives to buying in a store. Do you take phone orders, for example? I mean, a phone order is wildly important. Someone might say, oh, I wonder if Nicole's Horse Shop takes phone orders. I'm going to go look on Google and find out. Does Nicole's Horse Shop take phone orders? Well, if I've updated all my profile sites, it's going to generate an answer for them. And that answer hopefully is yes, yes, I do. So look at what you're doing. Make sure you're using the right words so that in a Google, Yahoo, or whatever search anybody uses, they're getting to you. Your next is your business URL. Now, your business URL, that's your website. And your website needs to be updated. I think you guys probably know that. But again, how is it possible to navigate it? Is it easy? Is it hard? Are you pushing out details on your site that are really quick and understandable to see, such as phone orders accepted? Or maybe you even do local deliveries. Possibly you do deliveries within a 20-mile range for same-day delivery. And then maybe you do something for, traditional delivery. These are details that you might want to share on your website and again, other places, so people don't lose you on their path to purchase, but instead they stay captivated. The next, of course, is social media. I'm sure and have full confidence that you have spent a lot of time on social media identifying how this works for you or how it doesn't work for you. One of the things I like about social media is that it actually gives you a lot of great intelligence. If you are signed up as a business account, it can tell you how many people are clicking on your page, how many people are actually leaving your social and clicking to your website. You get a lot of great insight here that you can leverage and use it to your advantage. Social media is meant to be informative. It's meant to be social too. So use it for that. Share information about your store, but also engage with others and leverage social media to be a part of the community of your customers, the connectivity to your customers, and show them what they're missing in your store as well. Take pictures of you merchandising new displays, take pictures of you welcoming even a new associate or celebrating a 1 or 5 or 20-year anniversary of an associate for that matter. Take pictures of your customers with permission in your store after they've made a purchase. There's certainly an envy factor out there when people are feeling connected, as social media can help us do, but also like they're missing out. So quite frankly, you want to make people feel like they're missing out. Use social media to your advantage, okay? And text messages. This is a really, really great and growingly, I would say growing more popular in terms of connecting to consumers. So again, that phone that we're talking about, your text messages land in your hand all day long. Do you listen or do you delete them? Do you open them? What do you do with them? Businesses, if you have the choice to opt into receiving a text message, can also share quality messages that make sense, whether it's you guys would define this, but whether it's once a week, once a month, what is the value of a text message? I would ask yourself though. You want to make sure you're not wasting people's time. But if you have a true incentive to share, a text message, often called SMS marketing, can be a great way to stay in touch with your customers for sure. And then, of course, your email lists. Hopefully, you're capturing emails through every transaction. And I also hope you're leveraging that email list to stay in touch with them. And you're using whether it's Constant Contact or HubSpot. There's a lot of great avenues in which you can leverage email lists and stay in touch with your customers. And you can share new arrivals. You can do storytelling. You can do, insight on how to care for, let's say, the new season ahead is spring, maybe some general habits that you want to offer, best words of advice, and then maybe still also highlights new inventory. So use your email list to make sure that your customers lean into you for a network of both product and brands and discovery, but also education and insight and trust. And that's really what you're building when you build customer connectivity. And then, think about where else your network lands. What else are you doing as a business operator that connects you to other consumers and nurture that? Okay. So, how often is your phone used on your own path to purchase? We just went through a variety of ways that a phone can be used. But I'm curious, if you had to ask yourself, how often are you using it? It's a good challenge to have. Now, because remember, we talked about generational differences, I would ask that same question to a few other generations in your life, whether it's a kid, a cousin, a nephew, a peer, or an older aunt, an uncle, a neighbor. What are they using their phone for when it comes to that path to purchase? Maybe have them evaluate a purchase they made recently. What did that journey look like? And you'll start to see that it's not just me talking, but it's them telling you that the phone is very influential on this experience. Another thing I want to ask you guys is what makes you spend or detour in your own shopping experiences? So if you are making a decision, you need something, and then suddenly you detour from that decision and you either completely change your mind, you don't make it, or you purchase from somewhere you did not intend to purchase from. Why is that? These are the same reasons that are influencing your customers and keeping them from potentially going to your brick and mortar store. Among the reasons that often come up are things such as your store hours or the exceptions to your store hours. Sometimes people have, variations that come unexpectedly. Just today, I had to take my daughter to urgent care, and I found out when I arrived, this is an urgent care I thought was open 24 hours, that they had a staff shortage, so they totally shut down just for the day. So of course, there's going to be exceptions. Or your contact information, social media connectivity. What about those peer review sites we talked about? Even your local directory or club directory or national association groups, wonderful groups like WESA even. So we want to make sure that we're really providing accuracy across all those touch points. We also want to make sure we're providing product understanding. Just being visible is one thing, but being clear on what product you sell, the brands you sell, the experts within your store to help sell these products. This is very important as well. So the product understanding and sharing these details at all these touch points is incredibly important. This is important in your physical store as well. You want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of brand assortment. You want to have a clear understanding of inventory availability. Also, you want to identify any promotions or sales that are either existing or coming up, as well as seasonal options. And what about personalized support? There's often a need for that where you need that one on one personalized care. Sometimes that comes with making an appointment, sometimes it doesn't. So, what does your store offer? Make sure these are visible both in your store through signage, clear communication. Even at the end of your receipt, you can share these details, but also make sure it's a digital visibility. And if you are, again, shipping things out or having things delivered, you can still provide these details on that receipt or other form of communication so that your customer's not confused. In fact, they might be better informed because they might not even know to ask certain questions. But if you share it up front, you're doing your job as a brand leader and giving them great intelligence. That would come as well to when it comes to policies. So when I talk about policies, these are things for store owners such as your return policy, gift card policy. What about damaged items or weather related issues that may have either hurt something or changed something for on your schedule, employee trainings? There's a lot of policies that a store should implement. And so my question to you, of course, is what are your policies? What policies are bold enough that you need to share, more quiet behind the scenes that only your employee needs to know? And then, of course, in general, how are you communicating all of this effectively? Policies can be wildly impactful on customer experience and ultimately their spending. And that connectivity is really where this leads us. Connectivity is at the heartbeat always of customer transactions and store success. So when we talk about connectivity, again, I'll reinforce you want to make sure you're leveraging your email lists. You want to make sure you're leveraging your social media, not just posting, but also engaging on social media. And loyalty and rewards programs. Make sure you're leveraging that. And of course, that SMS text message. All of this can help lead to more transactions, whether you're in a brick and mortar store or in between those store visits where they can still pick up the phone and call, maybe send you a message on social media, potentially even if text messaging is in place, communicate with you that way. You want to remember that not all customers are the same, right? So our customers who are not the same, they are going to look for different reasons to shop with you, different reasons to reach out to you, and different reasons to not return to you sometimes even. So you want to create experiences and policies that support all of your target market, and be where your customers are beyond those store walls. Because again, I'll remind you on that path to purchase, there will be collisions, and we're trying to avoid that. So if we can avoid the collision, that's better. Customers know they have choices. 2025 is already proven to be an interesting, challenging, and in some ways opportunistic year when it comes to commerce. I say opportunistic because it's putting us in a position of challenge where we have to think a little bit outside the box, okay? Customers know this as well, not just business leaders. Customers know this. That also know that they have choices, and they're going to want more from you. They're going to want better savings. They're going to want better customer service, okay? You can't just adjust your business because you have to. You have to adjust your business because you need to, and customers need you to, okay? They're not going to adjust for you. You have to adjust for them for the most part. So you're going to step outside your comfort zone as much as you might not like that. And that leads me to shoppertainment. Now, shoppertainment is one of my favorite things to discuss when it comes to retail because engagement is part of what influences customers. In fact, did you know that over half of customers surveyed from a World Economic Forum study revealed that customers want to gain an experience while shopping? Now, this is for the ages of 18 to 54. Customers want to gain an experience while shopping. That's pretty fun, in my opinion, right? Shoppertainment. What are the experiences that you're leveraging in your store? What are you doing to give your customers experiences? There's a lot you could do, in fact. The first would be education. Are you offering educational experiences? Sometimes you can take the education that your store provides and even bring it somewhere else. potentially to a club. Maybe you have even a pop-up shop within a community market experience, or there's some sort of like a local rodeo. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can bring education into your community and still bring it back to your business, right? What about social events that, such as a rodeo? Doesn't mean you're doing education at that. Maybe you're just there for visibility or part of the social experience, but it brings visibility to your business. And then, of course, VIP party offerings are always fun. I also love when like minded but non competitive businesses work together. So it's a co marketing where, let's say, for example, you work with some sort of youth focused group, and that group is not competitive to your business in any way, but you can extend something to them and they can extend something to you. And together it's a really great experience. Or even if you work with there's a local restaurant might want to have on the Kentucky Derby a great event, and you decide to work with them through a social event, and it's external from your business. So you combine some of these strategies, and you bring visibility to your business, you bring customers to your business, and you co-market with someone else. You could also always look at vendor partnerships. How are you leveraging the vendor relationship to strengthen your not only your in-store experience, but your overall experience with your customer connectivity? And even mixed use spaces. I would ask you, have you ever considered using your physical brick and mortar store for reasons beyond traditional retail transactions? In other words, depending on your space, you might be able to say, hey, I have a space that could welcome other groups. Maybe there's a book club. I know, I live in Colorado and we do have a great horse community around us. And while this isn't specific to a horse-focused store, I can tell you that there's a store that has nothing to do with women's book clubs, but they welcome book clubs across both younger and more mature, generational book clubs. And she says it's a great way for her to build new clientele and customers. So if at 7 o'clock your store closes anyway and you want to either rent out or loan out a place, X amount of things, maybe there's something there that you can create so that, of course, it's bringing you a fiscal return. But consider how your business can also be a mixed use space to help you in your own revenue growth. Okay. There's a lot of different ways that you can drive revenue to your business in your physical store beyond the unexpected. And that's really what we're talking about here. Okay. Talk to your vendors. How can they maybe help? Ask your customers even. What do they wish you offered that you didn't currently? Customers can be your best marketing team sometime because they often actually have these ideas that, depending on who they are, they might not even share with you. So talk to them. Ask to see what they want. Ask them to say, hey, if you're not already coming into the store at least once a month, why not? Get to know them. And then say, why would you? Okay. Challenge these real questions that you're looking for the answers for anyway, rather than just waiting to drum up the ideas on your own. And then, of course, plan your calendars. Set weekly, monthly, and quarterly goals to have shoppertainment in your business, to give a reason for customers to be entertained in your business, in your physical store, or within your community. Know your audience so that you can make sure you are supporting them in every possible way. Are they seasonal shoppers? Are they young? Maybe they have their first home and they have their own barn and they need to do a lot of needs versus wants first. Really get to know who your customer is and be a part of your community. How can your business further step inside the community of just what your footprint is? And with that, become more visible that way. Entertaining through these experiences as well. You ultimately want to engage, inform, listen, learn, have fun, and repeat this cycle again and again and again. That's what's going to really drum up business for your store, that community-centric loyalty as well, and help keep customers on that path to purchase. It's also a good way for you to get away from your own business when you step outside into your community, guys. I say that because, Glenn and I were talking earlier about sometimes there can be that sort of burnout feeling as business operators. And by the way, this happens across every business. Whatever business hat you wear, whether you're a store owner or a club manager, myself, I own my own business as well. We can all relate to this in various ways. But keeping that spirit alive often means stepping away from your actual place of normal business and doing a few other things so that you can generate not only that spirit fulfillment, but also driving sales and driving visibility and driving transactions in new ways, finding new customers and helping to bring that connectivity together. Some of the ways when you step out of your business to help within your community, offer to donate. Okay. If you're donating, this could be for a cause that you feel very strongly about. It could be a donation of dollars or of good. Maybe you have some feed you want to donate. There's so many different things that you can do from a donation. It could simply be time as well. What about demonstrations? Get into your community somehow and give demonstrations. Demonstrations vary, of course, in different ways, but you want to consider how you could be sort of that leader in your space by doing that through demos. And of course, experiences. Experiences are what push us into our community. It gets us introduced to new people. It reminds people, hey, we're here, we're doing well, we'd love to see you again. And again, that rejuvenation of your own spirit, I think, is so good. So all of this collectively represents shoppertainment. And shoppertainment, again, is so important, particularly in 2025 and beyond, as we look to keep up with the changing trends of commerce and how customers like to shop. So next, of course, technology. Now, there is so much technology out there, and I can't possibly go through everything. But when we talk about keeping our business healthy and alive on that path to purchase, we have to recognize that technology really does fuel business nowadays. Okay. It also allows for agility and demands of customers to be met more easily through technology and enhanced decision making. Okay. So through technology, customers can make better decisions. Now, the question is, are they making decisions that are positive for your business? So when we think about that, we really need to think about looking beyond our store walls and remembering that customer expectations are high and ease needs to be top of mind when trying to meet these high expectations, not only for your customers, but for you as well. The goal of technology is to do more with less, okay? The goal of technology is to be profitable and proactive. And the goal of technology is to connect better with your customers. 45% of retail businesses do not use tech-based data to better understand their customers. That is insane to me because this is so important that technology brings us clarity on consumer behavior. Again, whether it's that social media clarity or email marketing results that you've blasted out, are you now looking at the data that was generated from that? Are you looking at last year's point of sale to see how people spent and what's changing this year? 62% of retail sales are tech influenced though, okay? So that's pretty interesting. 62% of retail sales are tech influenced. Now, tech comes in a lot of ways, but that's going to again include everything from our phone to websites to emails to various things that ultimately influence how customers spend. Now, you as a business operator can look at these various things I'll share here in a minute to give more clarity of your consumer behavior, but also your own product sell-through. So the first is point of sale. Your point of sale is what's ultimately processing your transactions. Combined with your customer management, your CRM, the two of them both have a lot of clarity with what your business is doing and quite frankly, what it's not doing, right? It can tell you about vendors, depending on what your point of sale is. It can even narrow down very, very specifically to the vendor, when it was delivered, when it was sold, if you've had reorders made. Really dive into this data, especially if you do find yourself with a little extra time on your hand to consider how this can be leveraged to better support your ultimate future proactive planning to be more profitable in your inventory management, your customer management as well. And then, of course, our email marketing. You want to make sure you're looking at that data as well. There's no point in using it if you don't actually have data to then tell you how to use it better next time. Social media, we discussed a bit, but what about social commerce? Who here is actually using social media to process transactions? If you're not, you may want to apply for that. So you would go ahead on your TikTok, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Meta accounts in general, and see, hey, how do I set up for social commerce? The business solutions does allow you to integrate that. And often it can be integrated directly into your point of sale. So these can all be overlapped within each other. And maybe if they can't sometimes, depending on what point of sale you're using, it's still beneficial to use. And social commerce is a growing avenue, particularly again for that younger customer on how they spend. So you don't want to dismiss this. You could be within your four walls and making transactions through social media all day long. And they could be across the country, not even within your own little community. So really think about how that might help you. And then, of course, Google Analytics is going to give you clarity on where things are coming from to your website, how things are pushing through. And it allows you to better understand, oh, a lot of our leads come from Yelp. I'm surprised to see that. I better nurture Yelp more, or however that clarity might be telling you. And your own websites as well. And of course, text messaging. So there's going to be artificial intelligence. Chatbots are already integrated into many websites. Ask yourself if this is value added for your businesses. They're all intertwined into these various technologies as well nowadays, AI. So don't get too lost in the dust as you move ahead into 2025. You want to make sure on that path to purchase, these are also there. Leverage tech to help support revenue opportunities. This is the reality of how technology can help you. Technology equals data. Technology equals personalization. Technology equals clarity, and clarity is what equals revenue. Okay, the clarity of your product sell through, the clarity of who your customers are, the clarity of where your customers are coming from to make transactions. These are things that are allow you to better support your business and ultimately drive more revenue. 62% of current customers plan to buy more in the year ahead. That is good news for us. Okay, maybe 2024, as bad as it was, maybe that was what's pushing them into 2025 saying, okay, I'm ready to spend. So we have to be realistic with what our customers are doing, how we're going to reach these customers as well. The fastest growing technology among millennials and Gen Z is social commerce. We just talked about that. So I do want you to really incorporate that. I challenge you to give social commerce another consideration if you haven't used it already. It's connecting social media and commerce for transactions. So whether it's Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook, and connects you directly to your brick and mortar store, it leads to dollars. Or if you integrate the apps into those social media accounts, those social media goes straight to transaction, and then your store gets the notification, and you can either ship it or have it ready for pickup. Some of the social selling apps that I recommend are Comment Sold, as well as TikTok. TikTok does actually have a really strong platform, so something to think about there. And don't forget your employees, guys, when it comes to technology. One of the things that's really important is to leverage employee happiness, right? We want our employees to feel happier because they trickle down their energy to our customers, and that all actually influences the healthiness of your store. A few different apps that I like that can connect to your employee schedule management is Deputy, 7 Shifts, and Connect Team. Okay, Deputy, 7 Shifts, and Connect Team. This is a tech-based, basically employee management system. So if you had someone that, let's say, had to call in sick, like I went to urgent care today for my daughter, and had they had that, maybe somebody else could have picked up his shift and they wouldn't have had to close the location. But you could do, a lot of things on here too. As a manager, even creating the schedule, you use this. And finally, the future of retail will continue to swerve. There's going to be detours. There's going to be unexpected moments. Being where your customers are beyond your physical walls is the key to longevity. I cannot stress this enough. The path to purchase is going to swerve, but in order for longevity in your business to stay afloat, you must be willing to accommodate the curves, twists, and turns, detours, and all the unexpected along the way. Okay? You have to be proactive in order to be profitable. So it was so good talking to you guys today. And Glenn, it's always such a pleasure to join the Retail Roundtable.
Well, it's so good to have you. And I related to one big one that stuck out to me, and it drives my wife and I crazy. Is if we're on our phone, we're going someplace, and we want to stop somewhere, and we look them up on Google, and they don't have their hours in there.
Yep. Yep.
We're not going to call.
No, see, there's your detour. That is the detour right there. And whereas my 16-year-old would never do that. So she would go to social media first and say, what are their hours?
Right.
So, and she would expect a chatbot to reply to her question right away. So it's interesting how we all think differently and do differently.
And if you're driving an extra 2 or 3 miles, you're not going to go to see if they're open.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that stuck out at me. And it's so easy to go into all of those and make sure your information's correct.
Especially with time. It all takes a little time, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, but you're only doing it once. Unless it changes, you're
That's
doing
right.
it once. Yeah, that was the one thing that really jumped out at me. Was like, oh, we do that all the time.
And Google Maps and Yelp are actually integrated now. So even if you don't have your own Google Map update profile, Yelp, if you're there, it's going to automatically push it there. But that's not always to your advantage. You want to make sure that they're matched because if you have an old, outdated one, that'll integrate too. So you do want to take the time to get that all done.
So people can find you as the best place, retailminded.com.
Sure is. Nicole at retailminded.com or the website. Always happy to connect.
I know, and we'll put all the links to everything in our show notes as well. If you missed part of this and want to catch the rest of it, you can find it on the Retail Roundup Facebook page. You can also find it, we'll put the audio out on our Wisdom by WESA podcast. Just search for Wisdom by WESA on any podcast player. We also have a YouTube channel, WESA Trade Show. Just search for it there. And then the next Retail Roundup will be on Monday. That's the 17th. Hard to believe we're already at March 17th.
Yeah.
That'll be at 2 p.m. Be sure to sign up to join us live by going to Retail Roundup Facebook group or wesatradeshow.com. Thanks a bunch for joining us. We really appreciate it, Nicole.
Yes, thanks so much, Glenn. Good to see you.
All right, everybody, have a sales-filled week.